The superlaser of the first Death Star is one of the most fearsome and advanced weapons in the Star Wars universe, epitomizing the technological prowess and the destructive ambitions of the Galactic Empire. This weapon is designed to annihilate entire planets, making it the ultimate instrument of fear and control. Understanding its design, function, and operation reveals the complexity of this colossal weapon. The superlaser is the central feature of the Death Star's offensive capabilities, located on the equatorial trench of the space station. Externally, it appears as a massive concave dish about 35 kilometers, 21.7 miles in diameter, on the Death Star's northern hemisphere. This dish houses the main emitter array and several focusing lenses, which align to create a single, concentrated beam. The superlaser is composed of 8 tributary lasers positioned around a central focusing dish. Each of these smaller lasers fires a green beam of highly concentrated energy toward the central point. These beams converge at a central point above the dish, where they combine into a single, massively powerful beam that is fired toward the target. The entire firing process, from energy charging to beam alignment, is controlled by a sophisticated guidance and targeting system, managed from the Death Star's control center. The Death Star's superlaser works by focusing immense amounts of energy into a single point, and releasing it in a directed beam. The weapon's function relies on kyber crystals, rare and powerful gems that can amplify and focus energy. Kyber crystals are naturally occurring, and are known for their use in the construction of lightsabers by the Jedi and Sith, but in this case, the Empire has weaponized them on an unprecedented scale. The superlaser is powered by a massive array of kyber crystals that have been harvested from various worlds across the galaxy. These crystals are used to amplify the energy produced by the Death Star's reactors, and to channel it into the superlaser's firing sequence. The crystals have an innate ability to magnify energy, and when aligned correctly, they can produce an energy output of unimaginable magnitude. The Empire's scientists, under the direction of figures like Orson Krennic, conducted extensive research and experimentation to determine the best way to utilize these crystals. The superlaser draws its energy from the Death Star's hypermatter reactor, a massive power plant located deep within the station. The reactor generates power by consuming hypermatter, a theoretical substance in the Star Wars universe that represents condensed mass energy. This hypermatter is converted into energy at an efficiency rate far beyond what conventional fusion or fission reactors could achieve. When the superlaser is to be fired, this energy is channeled into the kyber crystal array. The array focuses and amplifies the energy, directing it into the 8 tributary lasers. These lasers fire in a synchronized sequence, converging their beams on a single point to form a combined superlaser beam. The superlaser requires precise calibration and alignment to function correctly. This process is managed by a combination of computer algorithms and human operators stationed in the Death Star's command center. The targeting system involves multiple subsystems, including range-finding sensors, energy output monitors, and gravitational field calculators, to account for any celestial bodies or spatial anomalies between the Death Star and the intended target. The targeting computers use sophisticated software to calculate the precise angles and timing needed for the tributary beams to converge perfectly at a single point. Any deviation, even by a fraction of a degree, could result in a misfire or a partial beam with significantly reduced destructive capacity. After firing, the superlaser requires a recharge period before it can be used again. This recharge process involves replenishing the energy reserves of the hypermatter reactor and recalibrating the kyber crystal array. The recharge time is not only dependent on the reactor's capacity to generate new energy, but also on the time it takes to realign the crystals and tributary lasers. The hypermatter reactor draws new hypermatter into its core to replace the energy expended in the firing process. This involves opening conduits from storage tanks and generating controlled micro-singularities to kickstart the conversion process. The reactor must also be cooled after each firing to prevent overheating, which involves circulating coolant through the reactor core and venting excess heat into space. After each firing, the kyber crystal array undergoes a delicate process of realignment to ensure that the next discharge of energy will be properly focused. This realignment is a critical aspect of the recharge process because any misalignment could lead to catastrophic failure. The crystals must be positioned with extreme precision, down to fractions of a millimeter, to avoid any dispersion of energy. The time required for recharging the superlaser varies, but it generally takes several hours to complete the full cycle. The exact duration depends on the condition of the hypermatter reactor, the kyber crystal array, and other systems involved. For tactical reasons, the recharge time is a significant limitation, as it prevents the Death Star from firing repeatedly in quick succession. The energy required to fire the superlaser is derived from the Death Star's hypermatter reactor. This reactor is a marvel of engineering. capable of producing a near infinite amount of energy by consuming hypermatter, a material believed to exist in a compressed form within hyperspace. Hypermatter is essentially condensed mass that, when destabilized, releases enormous amounts of energy, akin to antimatter but on a much larger scale. The hypermatter reactor converts this exotic material into usable power by accelerating it to extreme velocities and then colliding it with normal matter in a controlled environment. This reaction produces energy levels far beyond what any conventional reactor can generate. The power output from the hypermatter reactor is transmitted through conduits directly to the Kyber crystal array, which then amplifies it for use in the superlaser. Given the immense power involved in firing the superlaser, numerous safety protocols and redundancies are in place to prevent catastrophic accidents. Energy dissipation. Vents are designed to release excess energy into space if the Kyber crystals begin to overheat or if there is a risk of a reactor overload. Cooling systems circulate liquid and gas coolants through the reactor and crystal chambers to prevent overheating. These coolants are also cycled through external radiators to dissipate heat in the event of a critical malfunction. Emergency cutoffs can isolate the Kyber crystal array and shut down the hypermatter reactor to prevent a catastrophic explosion. The superlaser of the first Death Star is a terrifying technological achievement that combines advanced energy generation, Kyber crystal amplification, and precise guidance systems to create a weapon capable of destroying entire planets. It is a manifestation of the Empire's determination to enforce its rule through fear and absolute power, and its design showcases both the technological marvels and the hubris of the Empire. However, its reliance on Kyber crystals, complex alignment procedures, and extended recharge times also expose its vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities that the Rebel Alliance ultimately exploited to destroy the Death Star. While the superlaser is the Death Star's most infamous and formidable weapon, the station also houses a vast array of secondary weapons systems designed to provide defense against smaller-scale threats, such as starfighters, capital ships, and boarding parties. These weapons include turbolasers, ion cannons, laser cannons, anti-aircraft guns, and tractor beam projectors. Each of these systems plays a crucial role in protecting the Death Star from enemy attacks, ensuring the station's supremacy as a fortress of the Galactic Empire. Turbolasers are the Death Star's main defensive weapons, designed to engage and destroy enemy starships, from small fighters to massive capital ships. They are essentially heavy laser cannons that fire powerful, concentrated bolts of energy capable of inflicting severe damage on enemy vessels. The Death Star is equipped with thousands of turbolaser batteries, strategically positioned across its surface to provide a comprehensive field of fire. A turbolaser consists of a large barrel, an energy capacitor, a cooling system, and targeting optics. The turbolaser barrels are mounted on rotating turrets that can swivel and tilt to track moving targets. Each turret is manned by a crew of Imperial gunners who operate the weapon and monitor its systems. The turbolaser's firing mechanism uses energy from the Death Star's main reactor, which is converted into laser bolts by an energy capacitor. The capacitor stores a charge and releases it in bursts, creating a powerful laser bolt. The bolts are essentially streams of energized particles traveling at near light speed, causing tremendous kinetic and thermal damage upon impact. The cooling system ensures that the turbolaser does not overheat during sustained firing, venting excess heat away from the barrel. Heavy turbolasers are designed to engage capital ships such as Mon Calamari cruisers and Imperial-class star destroyers. Heavy turbolasers have slower recharge times but deliver massive amounts of energy per shot, making them effective against heavily armored targets. Medium turbolasers provide a balance between firepower and rate of fire, intended for engaging mid-sized ships, such as corvettes and frigates. Light turbolasers are optimized for a higher rate of fire, making them suitable for targeting starfighters and small, fast-moving vessels. Turbolaser batteries are arranged in clusters along the Death Star's surface, particularly around the equatorial trench and the superlaser dish. Their strategic placement allows them to provide overlapping fields of fire, creating a nearly impenetrable defensive perimeter. The turrets are connected to a central fire control system that coordinates targeting data and adjusts firing patterns to maximize their effectiveness. Laser cannons are smaller, faster-firing weapons designed to protect the Death Star against smaller, agile targets like starfighters, bombers, and boarding craft. These weapons are essential for providing a close-in defense layer, preventing enemy fighters from getting close enough to deliver payloads or perform precision attacks. Laser cannons are simpler and smaller than turbolasers, consisting of a barrel, an emitter matrix, a capacitor, and targeting optics. They draw energy from smaller localized power cells, allowing for rapid fire and quick recharge times. Unlike turbolasers, which are manned, Laser cannons are often automated or remotely controlled, using sophisticated targeting algorithms to track and engage targets. Quad laser cannons has 4 barrels that fire in rapid succession, increasing its rate of fire and making it effective against swarms of enemy fighters. These cannons are positioned around hangar bays, reactor shafts, and other critical areas. Twin laser cannons, smaller and lighter than quad laser cannons. Twin laser cannons are deployed on the surface of the Death Star in large numbers to provide coverage against fast-moving threats. They are often mounted on turrets that allow them to rotate and tilt quickly. Laser cannons form the primary line of defense against enemy starfighters and bombers. Their rapid rate of fire, combined with their agility, makes them ideal for targeting fast-moving objects. The Death Star's fire control computers link the laser cannons together into a defensive network, allowing them to engage multiple targets simultaneously and effectively. Ion cannons are specialized weapons that fire ionized particle beams to disable the electronic systems of enemy ships, leaving them dead in space. Unlike turbo lasers or laser cannons, ion cannons do not cause physical damage to the hull of a ship, but instead overload and disrupt electrical circuits and shield generators. Ion cannons work by accelerating charged particles to high speeds and releasing them in a focused beam. When this beam strikes a target, it disrupts the target's electronic systems, causing power surges, short circuits, and even total system failure. The ionized particles are particularly effective against energy shields, which they can penetrate more easily than physical projectiles. Ion cannons are primarily used to disable enemy ships rather than destroy them outright. This capability is particularly useful for capturing enemy vessels, disabling them before boarding parties are sent in. The Death Star is equipped with several ion cannon batteries, which are strategically placed to cover key approach vectors. Tractor beams are specialized energy projectors designed to capture and hold enemy ships, preventing them from maneuvering or escaping. The Death Star's tractor beam projectors are among the most powerful in the galaxy, capable of seizing even large capital ships and dragging them into docking bays or toward weapon emplacements. A tractor beam works by emitting a stream of gravitons, particles that mediate the force of gravity. These beams create a focused gravitational field that exerts a pulling force on a target, effectively tethering it to the emitter. The strength and range of the tractor beam depend on the power of the emitter and the mass of the target. The Death Star's tractor beams are primarily used to capture enemy ships attempting to flee, or to pull ships into range of its other weapons. They are also used to prevent collisions with debris or to secure friendly ships during docking maneuvers. The tractor beam system is operated from dedicated control rooms, with each projector overseen by a team of operators who use targeting computers to lock onto targets and adjust the beam strength. Anti-aircraft guns are designed to counter aerial threats, particularly bombers or ships attempting to perform precision attacks on vulnerable areas of the Death Star. These weapons use rapid-fire projectile technology to create a defensive barrier against incoming threats. Unlike laser-based weapons, anti-aircraft guns on the Death Star use physical projectiles, often explosive shells or flak rounds, that burst near their targets, creating shrapnel clouds that damage or destroy enemy craft. These weapons have high rates of fire and are equipped with proximity fuses that detonate the shells when they are close to a target. Anti-aircraft guns are typically positioned around critical infrastructure areas, such as the superlaser dish, hangar bays, and reactor shafts. They are used as a last line of defense when other energy weapons are ineffective or have been overwhelmed by sheer numbers of attackers. The Death Star is also equipped with torpedo launchers that can fire proton torpedoes and concussion missiles. These are used primarily for medium-range engagements against enemy capital ships or larger space stations. Torpedo launchers are designed to fire guided projectiles capable of navigating around obstacles and striking targets with precision. Proton torpedoes are energy-based projectiles with explosive payloads that can penetrate shields and armor, while concussion missiles use physical warheads designed to deliver kinetic energy to their targets. These weapons are particularly useful in situations where precision strikes are required, or where long-range engagements are necessary. They complement the Death Star's turbo lasers and ion cannons by providing additional firepower that can be used to overwhelm enemy defenses or deliver decisive blows to critical systems. The Death Star is far more than just a single superweapon. It is a fortress bristling with a variety of weapon systems designed to handle every conceivable threat, from nimble starfighters to massive capital ships. Each weapon serves a specific purpose in the station's defense strategy, from turbo lasers that engage enemy ships at range to anti-aircraft guns that provide close-in protection. Combined with its tractor beams and missile defenses, the Death Star is designed to be an impenetrable bastion, able to control the space around it while projecting its immense power across the galaxy. This combination of diverse weaponry ensures that the Death Star remains a formidable threat, capable of crushing any opposition that dares to challenge the Empire's rule. Star is often seen as a colossal, immobile space station. It is also a mobile battle station capable of moving through the galaxy to project its power wherever the Galactic Empire desires. The sheer size and mass of the Death Star require an incredibly sophisticated and powerful propulsion system to move it effectively. This system comprises multiple sublight ion engines, hyperdrive motivators, and complex control systems designed to ensure the Death Star can navigate both normal space and hyperspace with remarkable precision for an object of its size. The primary means by which the Death Star moves through real space is through its array of sublight ion engines. These engines provide the thrust necessary to propel the battle station through normal space at relatively high speeds. Given the Death Star's size, estimated to be around 160 kilometers, 100 miles in diameter for the first version, the ion engines must be exceptionally powerful and numerous. Ion engines work by generating thrust through the accelerated expulsion of ionized particles. Inside each engine, a fuel source, typically some form of heavy gas, such as xenon, is ionized by stripping away its electrons, creating a cloud of positively charged ions. These ions are then accelerated through a magnetic field using electric power generated by the Death Star's reactors. When the ions are expelled out of the back of the engine, they create thrust according to Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. The Death Star's ion engines are arranged in several clusters around its equatorial trench, as well as on its surface in key locations to ensure balanced and controlled thrust. Each cluster contains numerous ion engines, ranging in size and power. Larger engines provide the primary thrust, while smaller, maneuvering engines, often called vernier thrusters, help adjust the Death Star's orientation and fine-tune its trajectory. The engines are arranged in a redundant configuration, allowing for continued operation even if some of them are damaged or disabled. This redundancy is crucial, given the size and strategic importance of the Death Star. It ensures that the station remains mobile and can respond to threats or reposition as needed. The Death Star's engines are controlled from the Central Command Center, where a team of engineers and navigators monitors engine output, fuel consumption, and trajectory. This control system is linked to an advanced computer network that constantly calculates the necessary thrust adjustments to navigate the battle station. Given the immense mass of the Death Star, even minor course corrections require careful planning and precise execution. The ion engines are not designed for rapid acceleration or high-speed maneuvers, but rather for sustained, steady movement across vast distances. Ion engines generate a tremendous amount of heat, especially when used in prolonged operations. The Death Star is equipped with extensive cooling systems that circulate liquid and gas coolants through the engine compartments to dissipate heat. These coolants are then cycled through external radiators, which release the heat into the vacuum of space. Regular maintenance is performed by engineering crews who inspect and repair the ion engines to ensure they remain in optimal working condition. While ion engines allow the Death Star to move through real space, its true strategic value lies in its ability to travel faster than light using a hyperdrive. The hyperdrive motivator is a critical component that allows the Death Star to enter and exit hyperspace, effectively moving from one star system to another almost instantaneously by navigating a series of hyperspace routes. A hyperdrive functions by creating a hypermatter field that distorts space-time around the ship, allowing it to enter an alternate dimension known as hyperspace. In hyperspace, objects can move faster than the speed of light, traversing vast distances in a fraction of the time it would take in real space. The Death Star's hyperdrive motivator is exceptionally large and powerful, drawing directly from the battle station's main reactor. This reactor uses hypermatter, a theoretical substance that represents an extremely dense form of energy found in hyperspace. By manipulating hypermatter, the hyperdrive motivator can generate the necessary energy field to transition the Death Star into hyperspace. Navigating hyperspace requires a precise understanding of the galaxy's hyperspace lanes, which are safe routes that avoid gravitational anomalies, black holes, and other hazards. The Death Star is equipped with an advanced navigational computer that calculates safe hyperspace jumps using data from Imperial navigational beacons and probes distributed throughout the galaxy. The navigational computer is linked to an array of sensors and astrogation data, allowing it to chart the safest and most efficient routes. Because the Death Star is so large, even slight navigational errors could lead to catastrophic collisions with celestial objects or send the station into a star or asteroid field. The Death Star's hyperdrive system includes multiple redundancies to ensure its operation even in the event of damage. This includes backup motivators, shielded power conduits, and emergency protocols that can abort a hyperspace jump if any instability is detected. This redundancy is vital, as a hyperdrive failure while in hyperspace could result in the destruction of the battle station. The immense mass of the Death Star poses unique challenges for propulsion and maneuvering. Gravitational control systems, including artificial gravity generators and inertial dampeners, are critical for managing the station's mass, preventing structural strain, and maintaining internal stability. The Death Star uses artificial gravity generators to maintain a stable environment for its crew and inhabitants. These generators create a localized gravitational field that mimics standard planetary gravity, ensuring that personnel can move and operate normally despite the absence of a natural gravitational source. Inertial dampeners are used to counteract the effects of acceleration and deceleration on the Death Star's structure. When the ion engines or hyperdrive motivator is engaged, the station's immense mass would normally cause significant internal stress and strain. Inertial dampeners create counteracting forces that absorb and distribute the energy produced by acceleration, preventing damage to the station's superstructure and protecting its crew from harmful G-forces. To perform more precise adjustments and maintain orientation, the Death Star is equipped with maneuvering thrusters and gyroscopic stabilization systems. These smaller thrusters, located strategically around the station's surface, provide fine control over its pitch, yaw, and roll, allowing for minor course corrections without relying on the primary ion engines. Gyroscopic systems help maintain the station's rotational stability, ensuring it remains properly aligned during propulsion and when stationary. These systems are essential for stabilizing the Death Star's massive structure, particularly when transitioning between real space and hyperspace or engaging in tactical maneuvers. Operating the Death Star's propulsion systems requires an immense amount of energy, which is provided by its central hypermatter reactor. This reactor, one of the most powerful ever constructed, consumes hypermatter to produce vast quantities of energy far beyond what conventional reactors can achieve. The hypermatter reactor is the heart of the Death Star's power generation capabilities. By consuming hypermatter, a substance found in hyperspace that is vastly more energy-dense than conventional matter, it generates enormous amounts of power. This power is distributed throughout the Death Star via a network of conduits and energy regulators, which prioritize critical systems such as propulsion, life support, weapons, and shielding. The power management system is overseen by the Death Star's engineering core, which regulates energy flow based on operational needs. For example, during hyperspace travel, energy is diverted primarily to the hyperdrive motivator and associated systems. In contrast, during battle, energy is allocated to weapons, shields, and the superlaser. The distribution network is highly redundant, with multiple pathways and backups to ensure continuous power supply even if primary conduits are damaged. The massive energy requirements of the Death Star's propulsion systems generate significant heat that must be managed to prevent overheating and potential damage to the station's internal components. The Death Star incorporates an extensive cooling and heat dissipation system to manage this challenge. Large external radiators and heat vents are located throughout the station's surface, particularly near the engine clusters and reactor core. These radiators use conductive materials to transfer heat from the interior of the Death Star to the external panels, where it is then radiated into space. The vacuum of space is an excellent insulator, so these radiators are designed to maximize surface area and efficiency in releasing heat. Liquid and gas coolants circulate through the Death Star's engine and reactor compartments, absorbing excess heat and transporting it to heat exchangers. From there, the heat is vented into space or recycled into secondary systems, where it can be used to power other operations, such as environmental controls or secondary power grids. Despite the advanced technology powering the Death Star's propulsion systems, there are several tactical limitations that impact its effectiveness in combat and maneuvering. Due to its immense size and mass, the Death Star is not capable of rapid acceleration or agile maneuvers. It requires significant time to build up speed, change course, or come to a complete stop. In battle, the Death Star relies heavily on its defensive weapons and shields rather than maneuvering to avoid attacks. It is designed to be a stationary gun platform in most combat scenarios, with its engines used primarily for strategic positioning rather than evasion. Operating both the ion engines and hyperdrive motivator demands an enormous amount of energy. Prolonged operations can strain the reactor and require careful energy management to avoid overloading or overheating critical systems. The Death Star's propulsion systems are a marvel of engineering, designed to move an object of unparalleled size and mass across the galaxy. From its powerful sublight ion engines to its massive hyperdrive motivator, the Death Star is equipped to traverse both real space and hyperspace, bringing its devastating superlaser and formidable arsenal to any star system in the galaxy. While the propulsion systems are not designed for high-speed maneuvers, their sheer power and reliability ensure that the Death Star can project its might wherever the Empire commands. The Death Star, with its massive size and complex architecture, includes numerous hangars that serve as critical hubs for operations, logistics, and defense. These hangars are more than mere storage spaces. They function as staging areas for the station's vast complement of starfighters, shuttles, ground vehicles, and other support craft. Each hangar is equipped to handle a wide range of tasks, from routine maintenance and repairs to rapid deployment of troops and vehicles during combat. The Death Star features numerous hangars of varying sizes, strategically positioned across its surface and within its superstructure. These hangars are located primarily near the station's equatorial trench, in proximity to critical defensive positions, and close to key access points for rapid deployment. The design and capacity of these hangars are carefully tailored to meet the station's operational needs, from housing starfighters and bombers to accommodating large transport ships, and even docking entire capital ships. Each hangar on the Death Star is a large, open bay equipped with a number of docking ports, landing pads, and storage areas. The hangars are typically rectangular or oval in shape and feature multiple levels to maximize space. Catwalks, control towers, and observation decks overlook the main bay, providing vantage points for directing traffic, coordinating maintenance, and overseeing operations. The entrances to these hangars are shielded by powerful magnetic containment fields, which allow ships to enter and exit while preventing the vacuum of space from breaching the station's atmosphere. Force fields can also be activated to repel enemy projectiles or boarding attempts. The Death Star's hangars are capable of holding thousands of vehicles at any given time. A typical hangar can accommodate several squadrons of starfighters, a variety of shuttles and transports, and a range of ground vehicles. In total, the first Death Star is estimated to have a capacity for up to 7,000 TIE fighters, hundreds of support and utility vehicles, and several dozen larger craft, including troop transports, bombers, and Lambda-class shuttles. Hangars are categorized into several types based on their size and purpose. Primary hangars are the largest hangars and serve as the main hubs for fighter squadrons, shuttles, and larger craft. They are equipped with extensive repair facilities, fuel depots, and munitions storage areas. Primary hangars also include command and control centers to coordinate launches, landings, and combat operations. Secondary hangars, medium-sized hangars, are used for more specific purposes, such as housing bombers, assault shuttles, and landing craft. They may also be used for secondary operations, such as logistics, supply runs, or emergency repairs. Tertiary hangars. Smaller hangars designed for support vehicles, maintenance craft, and personal transports. These hangars are often located near living quarters and administrative areas, facilitating daily operations and transport within the station. The Death Star maintains a large and diverse complement of starfighters to ensure it is capable of defending itself against enemy attacks and projecting power across the battlefield. The starfighter squadrons are organized into wings and groups, each with specific roles and responsibilities. TIE Fighters. The most numerous and iconic starfighter in the Death Star's arsenal. TIE Fighters are short-range, fast, and agile craft used primarily for space superiority, interception, and close-range dogfights. The Death Star hosts approximately 7,000 TIE Fighters, organized into numerous squadrons, each consisting of 12 fighters. A faster and more heavily armed variant of the standard TIE Fighter. TIE Interceptors are designed for rapid strikes and are highly effective against enemy starfighters. They feature 4 laser cannons mounted on extended solar panels, giving them superior firepower. The Death Star's complement includes several squadrons of TIE Interceptors, which are deployed primarily for defensive purposes against enemy fighters that threaten the station. Designed to carry heavy ordnance, TIE bombers are specialized craft used to attack larger targets, such as capital ships, ground installations, or heavily fortified structures. The Death Star maintains multiple bomber squadrons to provide additional firepower during fleet engagements or planetary assaults. Each TIE bomber squadron is usually composed of 6 to 12 bombers, depending on mission requirements. The Death Star is equipped with several TIE boarding craft, which are used to deliver boarding parties or ground troops to enemy ships or installations. These craft have reinforced hulls, docking tubes, and can carry a complement of stormtroopers or special forces. The boarding craft are typically kept on standby for rapid deployment in the event of an enemy incursion or capture operation. The Death Star houses a number of Lambda-class shuttles, which serve as multi-purpose transport vehicles for personnel, officers, and high-value cargo. These shuttles are equipped with deflector shields, hyperdrives, and light weaponry, making them versatile for various roles, from diplomatic missions to prisoner transfers. For larger-scale troop deployments, the Death Star employs Sentinel-class landing craft, which can transport up to 75 troops, heavy weapons, and vehicles. These shuttles are heavily armored and armed, capable of supporting planetary invasions or boarding actions. In addition to starfighters and shuttles, the Death Star's hangars are also home to a variety of ground vehicles and equipment designed for surface operations, planetary assaults, and station defense. AT-AT walkers. These heavy walkers are stored in large sections of the primary hangars, ready for deployment to planetary surfaces. AT-ATs serve as the backbone of ground assaults, capable of delivering devastating firepower and transporting stormtroopers and equipment across difficult terrain. Smaller and more maneuverable than AT-AT walkers, AT-STs are used for reconnaissance, scouting, and light support roles. They are kept in secondary hangars, where they can be quickly loaded onto transports or deployed for station security. For rapid ground movement and patrols, speeder bikes are stored in secondary and tertiary hangars. These bikes are used by Imperial Scout troopers for reconnaissance missions or quick strikes against enemy positions. Various models of armored personnel carriers, APCs, are also kept in the Death Star's hangars. These vehicles are designed to transport stormtroopers and other troops quickly across the battlefield while providing protection from enemy fire. Each hangar includes extensive maintenance and repair facilities to keep all vehicles and starfighters in peak condition. Dedicated crews of engineers, technicians, and droids perform routine maintenance, diagnostics, and repairs. Hangars are equipped with repair bays, diagnostic scanners, tool racks, and parts storage areas, allowing for the swift turnaround of damaged or malfunctioning vehicles. Beyond starships and ground vehicles, the Death Star's hangars house a wide range of equipment and resources essential for daily operations, logistics, and combat readiness. Large tanks and storage areas contain reserves of fuel for starfighters, shuttles, and other vehicles. Fuel is delivered via automated pipes and lines that connect directly to refueling stations at each hangar. Secure storage lockers and armories hold a wide array of munitions, including laser cannon batteries, proton torpedoes, concussion missiles, bombs, and other ordnance. These storage areas are heavily guarded and monitored to prevent accidental explosions or sabotage. Hangars include barracks and ready rooms for pilots, technicians, and ground crews. These rooms are outfitted with lockers, briefing areas, and rest spaces, allowing personnel to remain close to their craft and ready to respond to alerts at any moment. Each major hangar has its own command and control center, where officers oversee hangar operations, coordinate launches and recoveries, and communicate with the Death Star's central command. These centers are equipped with tactical displays, communication terminals, and sensors to monitor incoming and outgoing traffic. A variety of droids, including astromechs, labor droids, and security droids, are stationed in the hangars to perform various support tasks. Astromech droids assist with repairs and diagnostics, while labor droids handle heavy lifting, cargo movement, and refueling operations. The hangars of the Death Star are constantly abuzz with activity, ensuring that all craft and equipment are combat-ready at a moment's notice. Hangar operations are meticulously planned and executed to maintain maximum efficiency and readiness. When a launch is ordered, hangar crews work swiftly to prep the assigned starfighters or shuttles. Pilots are briefed on their missions, and craft are fueled, armed, and inspected for readiness. The hangar command center coordinates launch sequences, ensuring that each fighter or shuttle exits the hangar safely and without collision. Recovery operations are equally well coordinated, with hangar crews guiding incoming craft to their designated landing pads. Damaged vehicles are prioritized for landing and immediate repairs, while droids and technicians stand ready to perform post-flight checks and maintenance. The Death Star maintains a constant state of readiness, with regular combat alerts and drills to keep personnel prepared for emergencies. During an alert, all hangars are placed on high alert, and pilots, ground crews, and security personnel are deployed to their stations. Quick response times are crucial, as the station's ability to launch fighters and interceptors swiftly can make the difference between repelling an attack or suffering damage. The hangars of the Death Star play a critical role in the station's overall strategy. They enable the rapid deployment of starfighters and shuttles to defend against enemy threats or Project Force across the galaxy. The hangars are also essential for logistical support, ensuring that the station remains supplied, fueled, and ready for prolonged operations. By maintaining a diverse and well-equipped hangar complement, the Death Star is capable of handling a wide range of tactical scenarios, from intercepting enemy starfighters to launching planetary assaults. This flexibility makes the Death Star not only a powerful symbol of the Empire's might but also a formidable military asset capable of striking fear into any who oppose it. The hangars of the Death Star are far more than simple storage spaces. They are dynamic and vital components of the station's military capability. With their vast capacity, extensive equipment, and well-trained personnel, these hangars enable the Death Star to fulfill its role as a mobile battle station, projecting Imperial power across the galaxy with unprecedented speed and force. The Death Star, the Galactic Empire's most formidable battle station, is a self-sufficient space fortress, with a crew numbering in the hundreds of thousands. These individuals, ranging from high-ranking officers to maintenance droids, form the backbone of the station's operation. The crew is responsible for everything from maintaining and operating the station's superlaser and weapons systems to handling logistics, engineering, medical care, and daily maintenance. This text provides a detailed overview of the Death Star's crew, including its size, roles, accommodations, and life aboard this colossal space station. The Death Star's crew is immense, reflecting the station's size and complexity. The station requires personnel across a vast range of specialties to function effectively, and its crew is a mix of military personnel, technical experts, and civilian contractors. The first Death Star is estimated to have a crew of over 1.7 million individuals. This includes Imperial Navy personnel. Approximately 265,675 officers and enlisted men make up the core naval crew, responsible for the station's overall command, control, navigation, and operation. These include bridge officers, gunners, pilots, starfighter mechanics, and technicians. A contingent of around 25,000 stormtroopers is permanently stationed on the Death Star. These elite soldiers provide internal security, maintain order, and are ready to be deployed for boarding actions, planetary assaults, or defense against enemy incursions. Support staff, roughly 607,360 support personnel, including engineers, maintenance workers, medical staff, communications experts, cooks, janitors, and other civilian contractors are necessary to manage day-to-day operations. These workers maintain the station's infrastructure, ensure smooth operations, and support the military crew. The Death Star is equipped with over 400,000 droids, which perform a variety of tasks ranging from janitorial duties to sophisticated repair and diagnostics. These include astromech droids, labor droids, protocol droids, medical droids, and security droids. The Death Star's crew is organized into several divisions, each responsible for different aspects of the station's operations. This hierarchical structure ensures efficient command, control, and communication throughout the station. Command Division. Led by the station's commanding officer, usually a high-ranking admiral or MOF, the Command Division oversees all operations aboard the Death Star. This division is responsible for strategic planning, decision-making, and coordination between all other divisions. Senior officers in this division command the bridge, where decisions are made about navigation, targeting, and engagement. Operations Division. This division manages the operation of the station's various systems, including the superlaser, weapons batteries, shields, and sensor arrays. It is composed of specialized personnel such as gunners, sensor operators, and tactical officers. The Operations Division also includes the crew members responsible for coordinating hangar operations and starfighter deployments. The Engineering Division is crucial to maintaining the Death Star's infrastructure, from its engines and reactor core to its life support and power systems. Engineers, technicians, and mechanics handle repairs, conduct regular maintenance, and manage the vast network of machinery and technology that keeps the station operational. Security Division. This division includes stormtroopers, security personnel, and surveillance operators responsible for maintaining internal security, enforcing discipline, and preventing sabotage. The Security Division also manages the station's brig and detention facilities, ensuring that any prisoners or captured personnel are securely detained. Medical Division. The Medical Division comprises doctors, medics, and medical droids. This division is tasked with treating injuries, managing health issues, and conducting medical research. The Death Star's medical facilities are extensive, with multiple infirmaries, surgical theaters, and quarantine areas to handle a wide range of medical emergencies. Logistics Division. This division oversees the supply chain, inventory, and distribution of resources throughout the Death Star. This includes food, water, fuel, munitions, and other essential supplies. The Logistics Division also manages docking and unloading operations, ensuring that the station remains well-stocked and prepared for prolonged deployments. The Death Star's crew lives and works in a highly regulated environment designed to maximize efficiency, security, and order. The station features a variety of living accommodations, from spacious officer quarters to more austere barracks for enlisted personnel. High-ranking officers and senior personnel are assigned private or semi-private quarters, located in secure and quieter sections of the station. These cabins are more spacious and comfortable, often including a private bathroom, a desk, communication terminals, and limited personal storage. Officer quarters are typically located near key command areas to allow for rapid response in emergencies. Enlisted personnel, including gunners, technicians, and pilots, are housed in shared barracks. Each barracks room can accommodate between 4 and 12 crew members, depending on rank and role. The rooms are Spartan, with bunk beds, lockers for personal belongings, and communal bathroom facilities. Barracks are designed to foster discipline and camaraderie among the crew, and they are located close to key operational areas to reduce travel time during shifts. Stormtroopers have their own specialized barracks, designed to facilitate rapid deployment and maintain peak readiness. The barracks are equipped with weapon racks, armor storage, and training areas. Stormtroopers are expected to maintain their equipment and conduct regular drills, and their quarters are located near armories, hangars, and deployment points. Civilian contractors and support staff, such as engineers, medical personnel, and technicians, are provided with more modest accommodations in designated residential sectors. These areas often include shared living spaces, recreational areas, and common dining halls. Support staff quarters are designed for practicality and comfort, allowing personnel to rest between shifts while remaining ready for duty. To maintain morale and reduce stress, the Death Star includes various amenities and facilities. There are numerous mess halls and canteens scattered throughout the station, providing meals for the crew. The mess halls offer a range of food options, including nutrient-rich rations and basic hot meals. Officers have access to separate mess areas with higher quality meals and occasional luxuries. To prevent boredom and cabin fever, the Death Star is equipped with limited recreational facilities, such as gyms, hologame rooms, and lounges. These areas allow crew members to relax, socialize, and engage in physical exercise during off-duty hours. The station includes multiple medical bays and infirmaries, where crew members can receive treatment for injuries or illnesses. The medical staff includes doctors, nurses, and droids, who are trained to handle a wide range of medical conditions, from battlefield injuries to routine health care. The Death Star includes several training areas and simulators, where personnel can hone their skills and prepare for combat. This includes firing ranges for gunners, flight simulators for pilots, and tactical rooms for officers. Regular training drills and exercises are conducted to keep the crew sharp and combat-ready. Life aboard the Death Star is characterized by strict discipline, long hours, and a rigid schedule. The crew follows a structured routine, with shifts typically divided into 8-hour rotations, allowing for continuous operations around the clock. Each shift begins with a roll call and briefing, where crew members are assigned their duties and updated on the station's status and any recent events. This is followed by a short period of physical training or equipment checks, ensuring that all personnel are prepared for their tasks. During their shifts, personnel carry out their assigned roles, whether operating weapon systems, conducting repairs, maintaining security, or performing administrative tasks. The high level of coordination required for such a massive station means that communication and cooperation between divisions are crucial. Routine inspections and maintenance are also a daily necessity to keep the Death Star's complex systems functioning properly. Engineering teams regularly inspect critical systems like life support, engines, and weapons, while security personnel conduct patrols and sweeps for signs of sabotage or intrusion. Regular combat drills and training exercises are conducted to ensure that all crew members remain in peak condition. These drills simulate various emergency scenarios, such as enemy attacks, hull breaches, and fires. Training sessions for gunners, pilots, and security personnel are held frequently to keep skills sharp. When not on duty, crew members are allowed limited free time to rest, eat, and engage in recreational activities. However, this time is strictly regulated, and personnel are expected to be ready to return to duty at a moment's notice. Serving aboard the Death Star is not without its challenges. The station's isolated nature, massive size, and continuous state of readiness can take a toll on crew morale and mental health. The Death Star is often deployed in deep space, far from familiar star systems and known territories. This isolation, combined with the constant threat of attack and the sheer size of the station, can lead to feelings of loneliness and disconnection among the crew. Psychological support is provided by medical staff, and morale officers are assigned to help maintain a positive atmosphere. Life aboard the Death Star is governed by strict regulations and a rigid hierarchy. Any breach of protocol or failure to perform duties is met with swift disciplinary action, ranging from reprimands to imprisonment, or even execution for serious offenses. This strict environment is designed to maintain order and efficiency, but it can also create tension and resentment among the crew. The Death Star's status as a high-value target for the rebellion means that its crew must always be prepared for combat. This constant vigilance can be exhausting, especially for those on the front lines, such as TIE fighter pilots and gunners training. Readiness drills and a strong command structure help mitigate these risks, but the danger remains ever present. Despite the challenges, the crew of the Death Star plays a vital role in the station's mission to enforce Imperial rule and project the Empire's power across the galaxy. Whether they are commanding the superlaser, piloting TIE fighters, or maintaining the station's vast infrastructure, every member of the crew contributes to the Death Star's ability to function as a terrifying symbol of Imperial might. The sheer scale and complexity of the Death Star require a well-trained, disciplined, and highly organized crew. Their dedication, skill, and adaptability are key to ensuring that the station remains operational, ready to strike fear into the hearts of the Empire's enemies, and capable of maintaining its place as the ultimate weapon in the Emperor's arsenal. The crew of the Death Star is a diverse and highly organized force, composed of tens of thousands of individuals who work together to ensure the station's smooth operation. From the bridge officers and stormtroopers to the engineers, technicians, and medical personnel, each member plays a vital role in maintaining the station's combat readiness and operational efficiency. Life aboard the Death Star is demanding and challenging, but for many of its crew members, it represents a unique opportunity to serve the Empire and be part of one of the most formidable military installations in galactic history. The Death Star is the Galactic Empire's most advanced and imposing superweapon, blending massive size with incredible firepower. The station's design is a complex blend of corridors, elevators, shafts, and compartments that provide functionality, support, and defense. Every aspect of its construction serves a purpose, from its labyrinthine internal architecture to the formidable armor plating and defensive shields that protect it from enemy attacks. This text explores the general design of the Death Star, focusing on its internal layout, infrastructure, corridors, elevators, shafts, and the various protective elements, including station plating, armor, and shields. The internal layout of the Death Star is a vast network of corridors, passageways, elevators, and turbolift shafts that connect the many sectors, compartments, and decks of the station. The design prioritizes both efficiency and functionality, allowing the crew to navigate quickly between key operational areas, while providing layers of security and redundancy. The Death Star is crisscrossed by thousands of kilometers of corridors and passageways. These range from narrow maintenance tunnels to wide main corridors designed to accommodate large troop movements, equipment transport, and cargo transfer. The main corridors are expansive and serve as the primary arteries of the station, connecting key areas such as hangars, command centers, detention blocks, and engineering sections. These corridors are well lit, with reinforced flooring capable of supporting heavy machinery and armored vehicles. Strategic choke points, security checkpoints, and blast doors are integrated throughout to provide control over access and limit the spread of damage or breaches. Secondary passageways provide access to less critical areas, including storage rooms, crew quarters, and maintenance bays. These passageways are narrower and may be less fortified, but are still designed to accommodate the movement of personnel and smaller droids. Auxiliary passageways often feature emergency access points, hidden service entrances, and escape routes to enhance crew mobility in emergencies. Hidden behind panels and grates, maintenance tunnels and access shafts run throughout the station, providing routes for droids and technicians to service critical systems such as power conduits, air ducts, and communication lines. These tunnels are generally narrow, with low ceilings, and are often filled with cables, pipes, and other infrastructure elements. Due to the immense size of the Death Star, elevators and turbolifts are essential for moving personnel and equipment quickly between the various decks and sectors. The station is equipped with large cargo elevators designed to transport heavy loads, such as starship components, munitions, and supplies. These elevators are located near key areas like hangars, storage facilities, and repair bays. They are heavily reinforced and can carry several tons of cargo at once. Turbolifts are high-speed elevators that transport personnel between different decks and sectors. The turbolift system is extensive, with multiple shafts and carriages capable of vertical and horizontal movement. These lifts are strategically placed near crew quarters, command centers, and key operational areas to minimize transit times and improve response capabilities in emergencies. In the event of a critical failure or attack, emergency escape shafts and ladders are available for rapid evacuation from damaged sections. These are designed to provide alternate routes when the primary elevators or corridors are compromised. The Death Star features numerous access shafts and ventilation ducts that serve both functional and strategic purposes. These vertical and horizontal shafts connect various parts of the station, providing alternative routes for technicians and droids to reach critical systems quickly. Access shafts are equipped with ladders, catwalks, and maintenance platforms, allowing for easy movement between levels. The ventilation system ensures that air is circulated throughout the station. These ducts are large enough to accommodate droids and, in some cases, even small humanoids. They are typically hidden behind grates and panels but are accessible for maintenance and inspection. The Death Star is protected by multiple layers of armor plating and structural reinforcement designed to withstand both internal accidents and external attacks. The station's armor is integral to its durability, allowing it to survive encounters with enemy fleets and the rigors of deep space. The outer surface of the Death Star is covered with heavy-duty durasteel armor plating. This armor is designed to provide protection against a wide range of threats, from laser cannon fire to impacts from asteroids and debris. The primary armor layer is made of durasteel, a dense and durable metal alloy capable of withstanding direct hits from starship weapons. The armor plates are several meters thick in most areas, providing extensive coverage against both energy-based and kinetic attacks. The plating is designed in overlapping sections, allowing for flexibility and movement while maintaining coverage. The armor is layered to create multiple barriers against penetration. The outermost layer absorbs and disperses the energy from incoming attacks, while inner layers provide additional reinforcement and protection. Critical areas, such as the superlaser dish, hangar bays, and reactor core, are given extra reinforcement with thicker plates and additional layers of shielding. Key structural elements, such as support beams and bulkheads, are reinforced with blast-resistant materials to protect against internal explosions and impacts. These reinforcements help maintain structural integrity even when the station sustains localized damage. Inside the Death Star, heavy bulkheads and blast doors are strategically placed throughout the station. These features serve to compartmentalize the station and contain damage in the event of an explosion, fire, or hull breach. Blast doors are thick, reinforced doors that can be sealed shut in emergencies to isolate damaged sections and prevent decompression. These doors are located throughout the station, particularly near hangars, reactor rooms, armories, and sensitive areas. They are controlled from central command centers and can be operated manually if necessary. Internal bulkheads divide the Death Star into different sectors and compartments, creating a series of interconnected yet isolated sections. These bulkheads are reinforced to withstand explosions and collisions, ensuring that damage is contained and does not spread to other parts of the station. In addition to its physical armor, the Death Star is equipped with powerful energy shields that provide an additional layer of defense against enemy attacks. Deflector shields are a critical component of the Death Star's defensive systems, designed to absorb and deflect incoming energy weapons, projectiles, and debris. The Death Star is surrounded by a large primary deflector shield, which is generated by powerful shield projectors located on the station's surface. This shield can be activated to cover the entire station, protecting it from both energy and kinetic attacks. The shield is capable of withstanding sustained fire from capital ships, as well as providing protection against missiles, torpedoes, and even small asteroids. In addition to the primary shield, localized energy shields can be activated to protect specific areas, such as hangars, the superlaser dish, or the reactor core. These shields provide focused protection against targeted attacks, and are particularly effective against fighter assaults and bombardment. The Death Star's shield systems are adaptive, meaning they can be adjusted to counter different types of attacks. The shields can be tuned to absorb or reflect specific frequencies, making them more effective against certain types of energy weapons. They can also be intensified in specific areas to counter a concentrated assault. The Death Star employs both ray shields and particle shields to defend against different types of threats. Ray shields are designed to protect against energy-based attacks, such as blaster bolts and laser cannons. These shields absorb and dissipate the energy from incoming attacks, reducing their effectiveness and protecting the station's hull and interior. Particle shields provide protection against physical objects, such as missiles, torpedoes, and debris. These shields create a force field that repels or destroys incoming projectiles, preventing them from reaching the station's surface. Particle shields are particularly effective against small, fast-moving objects that could otherwise penetrate the armor plating. The Death Star's overall design is centered around strategic functionality, with key elements that enhance its operational capabilities and defensive posture. The Death Star is divided into multiple sectors, each responsible for different functions and operations. These sectors are further subdivided into decks and compartments, creating a modular structure that allows for compartmentalization and redundancy. Located near the surface of the station, the command sector houses the main bridge, command center, and senior officer quarters. It is heavily shielded and reinforced to protect against direct attacks. The superlaser sector is dedicated to the operation and maintenance of the Death Star's primary weapon. It includes the superlaser focusing dish, power conduits, and targeting systems, all of which are heavily armored and shielded. At the heart of the Death Star is the reactor sector, which houses the station's primary hypermatter reactor. This area is one of the most heavily armored and protected parts of the station, with multiple layers of shielding, reinforced bulkheads, and blast doors. The hangar and docking sector includes multiple hangar bays, docking ports, and maintenance facilities for starships, fighters, and shuttles. These areas are designed to accommodate a high volume of traffic and are equipped with energy shields to protect against fighter assaults and boarding attempts. The Death Star's general design reflects its purpose as a mobile fortress and superweapon, combining functional infrastructure with robust defensive systems. Its intricate network of corridors, elevators, and shafts ensures efficient movement and operations, while its armor plating, bulkheads, blast doors, and energy shields provide formidable protection against a wide range of threats. This blend of strategic architecture and advanced defense systems makes the Death Star a nearly indestructible bastion of Imperial might, capable of projecting power across the galaxy and intimidating any who would dare oppose the Empire. The Death Star, officially known as the DS-1 Orbital Battle Station, was designed not just as a physical weapon, but as a tool for psychological warfare, embodying the Galactic Empire's strategy of ruling through terror. Its ability to destroy entire planets made it a symbol of ultimate power, a technological nightmare that could annihilate any rebellious system with the press of a button. The Death Star's concept of use, both as a military and psychological weapon, was key to maintaining control over the galaxy and instilling fear in anyone who dared to oppose the Emperor. The most direct and devastating use of the Death Star was its ability to destroy entire planets. Equipped with a superlaser powered by kyber crystals, the Death Star could focus immense energy into a single beam capable of obliterating a planet and everything on it. This was not just a means of eliminating military targets, but also a strategic method to neutralize entire planetary systems that harbored dissent or posed a threat to the Empire. The destruction of Alderaan demonstrated the Death Star's primary combat function: obliteration on a planetary scale. The station's capacity to wipe out planets removed the need for long, drawn-out battles or sieges. In traditional warfare, conquering a planet would require immense resources, including ground forces, naval fleets, and time. The Death Star streamlined this process. Instead of deploying troops and risking a protracted conflict, the Empire could simply eliminate an entire world. Alderaan, a peaceful planet with no significant military presence, was chosen as the first demonstration of the Death Star's destructive power to show that even neutral or non-militant systems were not safe from Imperial wrath. While the Death Star's most infamous capability was planetary destruction, it was also a fully operational battle station, designed to combat entire fleets. It housed an array of turbolasers, ion cannons, and tractor beams capable of engaging and destroying capital ships, starfighters, and any fleet that posed a threat to it. The Death Star's immense size allowed it to carry thousands of TIE fighters, stormtroopers, and ground vehicles, enabling it to not only engage in space battles but also deploy forces for planetary invasions if necessary. The station's shield systems were similarly advanced, making it nearly invulnerable to conventional attacks. The combination of its defensive measures and offensive capabilities meant that no fleet could match its power. The Death Star could be positioned in any system as a deterrent to rebel fleets or planetary defense forces, acting as an immovable and indestructible symbol of Imperial dominance in space combat. As a mobile battle station, the Death Star could be deployed anywhere in the galaxy, using its hyperdrive to move between star systems. This mobility allowed the Empire to respond quickly to any threat or rebellion. It could also serve as a forward base for launching military campaigns, or as a command center for regional governors like Grand Moff Tarkin, who used the Death Star as his personal base of operations. The station's massive complement of soldiers, droids, and ships, along with its storage for supplies and weapons, allowed it to function independently for extended periods. This mobility and self-sufficiency meant that the Empire could maintain control over multiple star systems without relying on traditional military bases or fleets. The Death Star was more than just a weapon of mass destruction. It was designed to inspire fear across the galaxy. The Empire's concept of use for the Death Star was rooted in the idea that fear, rather than persuasion or diplomacy, was the most effective tool for maintaining order. As Grand Moff Tarkin famously said, "Fear will keep the local systems in line. Fear of this battle station." The destruction of Alderaan was a calculated act of psychological warfare. It was not a military necessity. Alderaan posed no real threat to the Empire. Instead, its destruction served as a message to the galaxy that resistance would be met with complete annihilation. The people of the galaxy understood that the Empire now possessed a weapon that could destroy entire worlds without warning, and this knowledge was intended to quash rebellion before it even began. By leveraging the Death Star's reputation, the Empire could enforce its will without having to physically deploy it every time. The mere existence of the station was enough to make rebellious systems think twice before defying Imperial rule. The psychological impact was especially profound on planetary governments, who realized that no matter how strong their defense forces were, or how remote their location, they were never beyond the reach of the Empire's ultimate weapon. Another significant psychological function of the Death Star was to crush hope, especially among the Rebel Alliance and those sympathetic to its cause. The rebels fought for the freedom of the galaxy, but the Death Star represented the overwhelming power of the Empire. Its capacity to destroy entire planets in a single shot sent a clear message: the Empire was unbeatable. This created a sense of futility among those who might have considered joining the rebellion or resisting Imperial control. If entire worlds could be destroyed, then what chance did small bands of rebels or insurgents have against the might of the Empire? The Death Star's imposing size and destructive power contributed to a widespread feeling of helplessness among the galaxy's inhabitants. The station became a symbol of despair, showing that even the strongest and most well-defended planets could be obliterated in seconds. The galaxy's citizens were meant to feel that resistance was not only dangerous but also pointless, as the Empire could respond with overwhelming force. The Death Star's ability to destroy planets also had a deeper, almost theological, psychological effect. For many cultures and species across the galaxy, planets were sacred, or held deep spiritual significance. The destruction of Alderaan was not just an act of mass murder but an attack on a way of life. It demonstrated that the Empire did not just control people. It could erase entire histories, cultures, and species from existence. This created a sense of existential dread that no system of government or military force had ever instilled before. Moreover, the Death Star's reliance on kyber crystals, which were once central to Jedi teachings and the Force, added an ironic twist. The crystals, revered by the Jedi for their role in lightsabers, were now being used to fuel a weapon of ultimate destruction. This perversion of the crystal's power represented a triumph of the dark side and served to underscore the Empire's dominance not only over physical reality, but over spiritual beliefs as well. Despite its overwhelming power, the Death Star was not without strategic limitations. The Empire's decision to build such a colossal weapon came with drawbacks that, in the long term, exposed vulnerabilities in their military strategy. One of the major strategic flaws of the Death Star was the Empire's over-reliance on its terror-inducing capabilities. While the station was designed to keep star systems in line through fear, it did not address the root causes of rebellion. The Empire believed that by showing overwhelming power, it could suppress any resistance, but the destruction of Alderaan had the opposite effect. Rather than cowing the galaxy into submission, it galvanized the Rebel Alliance, showing them that the Empire was willing to commit atrocities on an unimaginable scale. The Empire's belief in the Death Star's invincibility also created a false sense of security. Key figures like Grand Moff Tarkin dismissed the Rebel Alliance's ability to pose a real threat to the station. This overconfidence led to the Empire's failure to recognize and address the Death Star's vulnerabilities, most notably the exhaust port that allowed the rebels to destroy it during the Battle of Yavin. The Death Star centralized immense power in a single battle station, which made it a symbol of Imperial might, but also a singular point of failure. The station required vast resources to operate and protect, diverting attention and resources from other military assets. This focus on a single superweapon weakened the overall flexibility of the Imperial Navy, which became overly dependent on the Death Star's presence for enforcing order. The station's destruction was a massive blow to the Empire, both militarily and psychologically. It revealed that even the most powerful weapon had weaknesses, and that the Empire's strategy of ruling through fear had backfired. The rebels' success in destroying the Death Star inspired countless others across the galaxy to rise up against the Empire, giving them hope that the seemingly invincible regime could be defeated. The Death Star's combat and psychological role were intricately connected. It was not just a weapon of mass destruction, but a symbol of the Empire's ability to control through fear. Its strategic concept of use involved using overwhelming power to crush any opposition, whether through direct military force or the psychological impact of its mere existence. However, the same terror that the Empire sought to instill became its undoing, as the Death Star's destruction emboldened the rebellion and shattered the illusion of Imperial invincibility. In the end, the station's power to destroy planets could not match the resilience and determination of those who fought for freedom. Actual construction of the first Death Star, the most ambitious project in the Star Wars galaxy, was a colossal effort requiring unprecedented levels of resources, labor, and logistics. The engineering marvel was so vast and complex that it involved the cooperation of countless worlds, systems, corporations, and forced labor camps, all controlled by the Galactic Empire. This detailed account delves into the practical aspects of its construction, including where the resources came from, how they were acquired, who was involved, and the timeline of its completion. Building a space station the size of a small moon required enormous amounts of raw materials. Metals, minerals, energy sources, and hypermatter were needed to forge the core structure, weapon systems, and operational components of the Death Star. The Empire employed a variety of means to gather these resources. The Empire exploited numerous mining worlds throughout the galaxy to supply the required materials. Planets rich in metals such as Mandalore, Lothal, and Kessel were systematically plundered for their ores. These planets, along with asteroids in the outer rim and mid-rim, were stripped of precious resources like durasteel, Tabana gas, for weapon cooling and energy transfer, and hypermatter. Tabana gas was harvested from gas giants like Bespin, while kyber crystals, critical for the superlaser, were extracted from ancient Jedi temples and mined from locations such as Jedha and Ilum. The kyber crystals were crucial for the operation of the Death Star's superlaser, as they were the key to focusing and amplifying energy into a planet-destroying beam. The Empire undertook secret missions to desecrate Jedi holy sites and plunder their caches of kyber crystals. Entire planets, like Jedha, were targeted specifically for their deposits of these rare and powerful crystals. This led to the systematic destruction of ancient temples and large-scale mining operations. Several major corporations and conglomerates played a critical role in supplying materials and components for the Death Star's construction. The most significant of these was the Techno-Union, an organization that had previously supported the Confederacy of Independent Systems, CIS, during the Clone Wars. Other industrial giants like Quat Drive Yards, CNR Fleet Systems, and some Tagaco contributed advanced technologies, heavy machinery, and starship components. The Empire's vast resources came not only from planets under Imperial control, but also through the enslavement of entire species, Wookiees. Mon Calamari and other captured races were used as forced labor in mining operations and construction sites. The harshest of these were stationed on worlds like Wobani and Despire, where many perished due to the brutal working conditions. Wookiees, in particular, were highly valued for their immense strength and were often forced to perform dangerous and physically demanding tasks. The Death Star's construction was carried out in phases, spanning multiple locations and relying on the secrecy of its operations. The station was first conceived and prototyped on Geonosis, before being moved to more remote locations. These stages reflect the complexity of maintaining secrecy, while ensuring the smooth continuation of the project. The early development of the Death Star began in orbit above Geonosis, a planet known for its engineering prowess and its role in the Clone Wars. The Separatists, under the leadership of Poggle the Lesser, initially laid the groundwork for the project, developing the blueprints for the superweapon. The Empire, under Palpatine's direction, secretly took over the project after the war. Much of the design work was carried out on Geonosis, and the planet's droid factories helped in the initial phases of construction. However, to keep the project hidden, the Geonosians were later wiped out by the Empire. ensuring no witnesses were left to reveal the project's existence. After Geonosis, the Death Star was moved to the remote system of Despair. This isolated system in the Outer Rim was chosen for its obscurity and lack of strategic importance. The Empire used Despair as a base for constructing the Death Star's outer shell and larger internal structures. Despair was also home to numerous prison camps, where enslaved laborers were used to accelerate construction. Once the superstructure was near completion, the Empire tested the Death Star's superlaser on the planet itself, obliterating Despair as the final act of construction. The sheer scale of the Death Star required specialized mobile shipyards and orbital platforms to facilitate construction. Imperial shipyards were set up around key planets, including Quat, Corellia, and Fondor. These facilities, traditionally used for building Imperial starships and capital ships, were repurposed to fabricate components for the Death Star. Prefabricated sections of the station were assembled in space, where massive tractor beams and droid crews would transport them to the construction sites. These mobile platforms were vital in transporting parts and equipment between star systems. Given the potential for discovery by the Rebel Alliance or even rival factions within the Empire, the construction of the Death Star was shrouded in utmost secrecy. The Empire enforced compartmentalization across the project, ensuring that workers, engineers, and even some Imperial officers were unaware of the full scale of the weapon they were building. Grand Moff Tarkin, who was placed in charge of the project in its later stages, ensured tight security by using the Imperial Security Bureau, ISB, and a fleet of Star Destroyers to patrol nearby sectors. The construction of the Death Star was managed by a variety of engineers, scientists, and high-ranking Imperial officers. Some of the most notable figures involved in the project were: Director Orson Krennic of the Advanced Weapons Research Division was instrumental in overseeing the Death Star's early development. A political opportunist and ambitious officer, Krennic worked under the direct orders of Emperor Palpatine and was obsessed with perfecting the superlaser. He also recruited scientists, including Galen Erso, to work on the station's core weapon systems. A brilliant scientist and engineer, Galen Erso was coerced into developing the superlaser technology for the Death Star. While working under duress, Erso secretly built a fatal flaw into the station's design, a vulnerability in the thermal exhaust port that could lead to the entire station's destruction if targeted correctly. Galen's role was pivotal, as he and his team were responsible for harnessing the power of the Kyber crystals for the Death Star's weapon. Grand Moff Wilhuff Tarkin, one of the Empire's most influential figures, was appointed to oversee the final stages of construction. Tarkin was a staunch advocate of the Death Star, believing it would cement the Empire's rule through fear. His leadership ensured the smooth transition from development to operational status. A combination of human engineers and advanced construction droids was used throughout the project. Droids like the labor-focused EV series and various other automated units were deployed to handle hazardous and intricate tasks, such as assembly of high-energy systems, testing the superlaser, and maintaining the hull. The labor droids worked around the clock, far outpacing what organic workers could achieve. The construction of the first Death Star spanned over 2 decades. Beginning in the final years of the Clone Wars, the project's initial stages were marked by political manipulation and the technological challenges of weaponizing Kyber crystals. After the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Empire, construction ramped up, though progress was slow due to the scale and secrecy of the project. The initial designs and prototypes were drawn up during the Clone Wars on Geonosis. These early stages focused on proving the feasibility of the superweapon and creating the framework for the station's construction. The bulk of the Death Star's assembly took place in the years following the Clone Wars, with construction moving from Geonosis to Despair. During this time, slave labor, corporate collaboration, and mobile shipyards were essential in speeding up the project. In the final years leading up to the events of A New Hope, the Death Star neared completion under Tarkin's command. Testing of the superlaser, including the destruction of Despair, was carried out, and the station was made fully operational. The Death Star's construction represents the Empire's vast and terrifying control over the galaxy's resources and labor. With the station's completion, the Empire possessed an unparalleled weapon of mass destruction, though it also served as a symbol of their over-reliance on technology and power, which ultimately led to its downfall. The monumental effort to build such a weapon, through force, coercion, and exploitation, mirrored the darker themes of control and oppression that characterized the Empire's reign. The construction of the first Death Star, a massive space station with the ability to destroy entire planets, is one of the most significant engineering feats in the Star Wars galaxy. officially known as the DS-1 Orbital Battle Station. Its creation was a complex, decades-long project that involved advanced technology, clandestine operations, and vast resources. The idea for the Death Star can be traced back to the latter days of the Galactic Republic, during the Clone Wars. Its concept originated from a separatist superweapon designed by the Geonosians. The Geonosian leader, Poggle the Lesser, shared the plans with Count Dooku, the leader of the Separatists and a Sith apprentice to Darth Sidious, Emperor Palpatine. Dooku, in turn, passed the plans to his master, Sidious. Though it was originally developed under the guise of a separatist superweapon, it was always intended to serve the Sith's broader ambitions of galactic domination. After the fall of the Jedi Order and the rise of the Galactic Empire, Emperor Palpatine and his right-hand man, Darth Vader, realized that a technological terror like the Death Star would serve not only as a means to enforce Imperial rule, but also to inspire fear across the galaxy. The Death Star would allow the Empire to quell rebellion by threatening to annihilate any planet that defied them. The development of the Death Star was a secretive and highly compartmentalized affair. The project was initiated immediately after the formation of the Empire, but it took many years to complete. The primary site for its construction was in the orbit of the planet Geonosis, where the early prototype designs were refined. It was here that the Separatist engineers and droid armies began the initial phases of construction, but following the end of the Clone Wars, much of the labor was transferred to Imperial forces. One of the greatest challenges was the development of the station's superlaser, the weapon that could destroy an entire planet. This weapon was based on the Kyber crystal, a rare and powerful crystal used by the Jedi and Sith in their lightsabers. The Empire undertook numerous expeditions to find and harvest the vast quantities of Kyber crystals needed for the Death Star's weapon. The extraction of these crystals was highly destructive, and the planets that housed them often suffered as a result. The Death Star was a staggering engineering challenge. The station had a diameter of about 160 kilometers, 100 miles, and was designed to function both as a mobile battle station and a planetary annihilation weapon. It required immense power to sustain its hyperdrive, shields, weapons, and the life support systems for the millions of crew members and troops stationed aboard. Its super laser, the heart of the Death Star's power, was an even more daunting task. Designed to combine several individual beams of energy into a single, focused, planet-destroying shot, this technology required precise synchronization of the energy sources, which included massive Kyber crystals. Even with the crystals, it took years to perfect the energy conduit systems, beam alignment mechanisms, and targeting systems. The technology behind the superlaser was initially unstable, and many test firings resulted in failure or unintended destruction. The construction of the Death Star was a closely guarded secret, but not without its risks. Many within the Imperial hierarchy were aware of the project, though the full scope and purpose were kept confidential to prevent any leaks to the burgeoning Rebel Alliance. Grand Moff Wilhuff Tarkin, one of the most influential figures in the Empire, was assigned to oversee the Death Star's construction in its final stages, especially after the project faced delays and setbacks. Within the Empire, some saw the Death Star as a dangerous centralization of power. Others, particularly members of the Imperial Navy, were concerned that reliance on a single superweapon could undermine traditional military forces. Despite these concerns, Palpatine's belief in the Death Star's ability to instill terror across the galaxy overruled any objections. Meanwhile, the Rebel Alliance, though initially unaware of the Death Star's full potential, became increasingly suspicious of the Empire's secretive projects. Rebel spies began gathering intelligence, with figures like Bail Organa and Mon Mothma striving to discover the true nature of the Empire's plans. The Death Star was finally moved from Geonosis to the remote system of Despair, where the final stages of construction were completed. This system was chosen to minimize the chances of the project being discovered by the growing Rebel Alliance. Slave labor, including Wookiees and other oppressed species, was used to finish the station's construction, reflecting the Empire's ruthless disregard for life in pursuit of its goals. Despite the project's complexity, the Death Star was completed under the leadership of Tarkin and other key figures in the Empire. It was fully operational by the time the Empire set its sights on the growing rebellion. The Death Star's first and most infamous use came when it was deployed to deal with the Rebel Alliance. After capturing Princess Leia Organa, a leader in the rebellion, Tarkin sought to use the Death Star to coerce her into revealing the location of the Rebel base. When Leia refused, Tarkin ordered the destruction of her home planet, Alderaan, as a demonstration of the station's power. The superlaser obliterated the entire planet in a matter of moments, leaving only fragments in space. This horrifying event revealed the true terror of the Death Star and galvanized the Rebel Alliance to act against the Empire with greater urgency. One of the most pivotal figures in the creation of the Death Star was Galen Erso, an engineer and scientist who was forced by the Empire to work on the superweapon. Galen harbored deep reservations about his role in the project and secretly planted a fatal flaw in the Death Star's design, an exhaust port that, if targeted precisely, could cause a catastrophic chain reaction, leading to the station's destruction. This information was relayed to the Rebel Alliance by Galen's daughter, Jyn Erso, after the events of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. With this crucial intelligence, the Rebels were able to launch a daring attack on the Death Star. The Death Star's downfall came at the hands of Luke Skywalker during the Battle of Yavin. Using the plans smuggled out by Jyn Erso and the Rebel team, the Rebel Alliance found the weak point in the Death Star's design. Luke, piloting an X-Wing fighter, used the Force to fire a proton torpedo into the exhaust port, triggering the chain reaction that destroyed the station. The destruction of the Death Star was a monumental victory for the Rebel Alliance and a severe blow to the Empire. Although the Empire would later attempt to build a second Death Star, the destruction of the first one marked a turning point in the Galactic Civil War. The first Death Star remains one of the most iconic symbols of the Empire's tyranny. Its construction, use, and eventual destruction highlight the themes of technological dominance, fear, and rebellion that permeate the Star Wars saga. Despite its overwhelming power, it was the courage and ingenuity of a small group of rebels that ultimately brought it down, symbolizing the resilience of those who stood against the Empire.